So Dwight Howard found himself traded again to the Brooklyn Nets, and now they're discussing a buyout option. The question is, would you want Dwight Howard on your team? Well, I know for me, as my favorite team is the Celtics, I would probably rather have Aaron Baines and what he did for them this previous season than what Dwight Howard could do for them, because I think Baines has a lot more humility than Dwight does and is willing to just play within a team system rather than Dwight, who now, after another instance of there being drama in the locker room and all these reports of his teammates not really caring for his demeanor, on top of some of the decisions he makes on the floor, and Dwight Howard is in this awkward spot where I don't think he's like Carmelo Anthony, where he's this diminished version of himself. Like, sure, he might not be as good as he was a few years ago, but I still think he has the talent to be a decent player, right? And one of the better centers in the NBA. And from a box score standpoint, he still is. I would think... I think if you're using his box score numbers to defend how good he is or how impactful he is, I think you're overreacting to them, if I'm honest. But they do show that the guy's still talented. From a rebounding standpoint, he's still one of the best rebounders in the league. I mean, all of his rebound percentage numbers are towards the top. He's right up there with like Drummond and Cantor and all those guys. Offensive rebounding, defensive rebounding, doesn't matter. I also think defensively, Dwight can still be okay. The Hornets were better defensively with him in the game this previous season, so that's good. So the groundwork is still there. I think he can still be an effective screener and all that. The problem is, though, Dwight just has an unrealistic vision of himself as a player. This is all you need to know, okay? Well, number one is, we've known this for a while, he wants to post up, he wants to be a larger part of an offense. The reality is, Dwight's just not a good post-up player, okay? You look at this season, he averaged 6 post-ups a game, this is all on NBA.com, and he was in the 40th percentile of post-up players. So he's below the average, and he's still posting up 6 times a game. So that's 6 possessions that the ball could be in Kemba Walker's hands, or it could be in Nicholas Batum's hands, or maybe it's Marvin Williams shooting a three-pointer. But instead, it's Dwight Howard hijacking the offense, backing someone down, and then hoisting up some hook shot that clangs off the backboard or bounces off the rim and doesn't go in. 6 times a game. Just throw 6 possessions in the dumpster if Dwight Howard is on your team, apparently. So that's not good. And then the other thing is, while I think he can be an excellent roller, he only averaged 2 rolls to the basket a game this season. 2. In 2017, he averaged 1.3 for the Hawks. I mean, it's just backwards, you know? You look at Dwight Howard, his athleticism that he still has, that he's still pretty good with, and you think, oh yeah, that guy can be awesome in transition, he can roll to the rim really well, he can be like one of the best screen setters in the NBA because the guy's huge, and yet he wants to post up and he just shouldn't be posting up. It's an awkward thing, right? If I was a team like the Wizards, would I want Dwight? I mean, it depends. Is he going to do what he should do? Which is, you know, what I've said a million times in this video already? Or is he just going to post up and take the ball away from John Wall and Bradley Beal? Because if that's the case, I don't want him, right? What's so weird is how Dwight has had this happen for team after team after team, and he still doesn't get it. Is it a matter of just he just has all these maturity problems and he's passive aggressive, and as a result, he's just never going to figure it out? I mean, given how old he is at this point, yeah, I think that's a safe bet, honestly. And it sucks to say that because I don't think the guy has had some drastic decline athletically, you know? But, I mean, look at it. Between the end of the Magic era, the Lakers season, the well-documented feud between him and James Harden, where Dwight just didn't want to set screens, and Clint Capella's totally fine with it. His year in Atlanta, where apparently, I didn't know this, I had to Google this, apparently Hawks players were very happy and screamed in jubilation, quote-unquote, when they found out that Dwight Howard was traded. So the front office calls him up, tells him Dwight's gone, and then they get really happy. And there are stories about him like giving these speeches in the locker room about how everybody's got to play hard, but then he goes out there and, you know, he gives an effort on defense, but it's not the best effort, and he doesn't roll, and he wants to post up and take over the offense. Then we have this year with the Hornets when there's reports that his teammates didn't like him. It's like, at this point, the common denominator here is Dwight Howard, who has this bloated vision of who he is as a player. And it sucks because if the guy would just swallow his ego and realize what he should be doing, then he could still be a really effective big guy. Now, if we talk about potential options for the guy, now that he's probably going to be bought out by the Nets, I mentioned the Wizards. I would not do it if I was them, just because of all the culture problems that they've had for a while now. A lot of it was between Gortat and John Wall, and Gortat just got shipped out, of course, but that team just has such a angstiness to them, where they think they're better than they actually are, and maybe that would be a perfect fit for Dwight Howard, but I picture that not going very well. Even though I do think Scott Brooks is a pretty good manager of personalities. I think, given the way Rick Carlisle went about the Rondo situation as well as the Nerlens Noel situation, he's not the kind of guy who's going to coddle you if you're having problems. He's just going to be like, alright, well then screw you. You know, if you don't like it, then you're not going to play. Which I don't think that's going to work with Dwight Howard's personality. Honestly, I could picture him ending up on whatever team LeBron is on, because if there's anybody in the NBA who may be able to rein Dwight in, it might be LeBron, who is not afraid to get on guys. I mean, there is a chance that Dwight would just become a shell of himself and just kind of like fold within himself and lose confidence, but I don't know, maybe Dwight needs that kind of a guy. We saw what happened with him and James Harden, two guys who are non-confrontational. They just never resolved their problems, and Dwight was out of there. Whereas LeBron would probably bring all of the potential problems in terms of Dwight wanting to do things he shouldn't do. He'd probably put it all on the table, and maybe it would actually be good for Dwight. And if that was the case, like if Dwight actually bought in, that could be great. I mean, LeBron with a really good screen setter / roller, that's effective, you know? And because Dwight just got the buyout, I mean, is there a chance that Dwight would sign with the Cavs if LeBron was to stay for like a minimum or something pretty cheap? Yeah, it's a possibility. I guess there's also the chance of the Warriors, because they're looking for centers like Dwight. It would be similar to the Cavs, where he's already getting his money, so he doesn't care if he's on a small contract. Yeah, I mean, maybe the only ways to get Dwight to actually listen is to either put him on the best team in the league or pair him up with the best / most in-your-face player in the league. And yeah, of course he would be a great fit with the Warriors if he didn't post up. And I have to imagine Draymond would not tolerate Dwight doing that. I mean, we've seen Draymond get frustrated with Kevin Durant, so if he's willing to have that moment with the second best player in the league, then he's definitely willing to yell at Dwight if he's not listening. One team that kind of intrigues me is the Spurs, actually, because they've been able to make it work defensively with Pau Gasol, of course, and Dwight, even now, is, to me, still a much better defender than Gasol can be. And if he's totally locked in, he could still be one of the better ones in the league, I would say. And if there's anybody who could get him to, really be focused, then I guess Popovich could be that guy. But, with the Kawhi situation where it is right now, and even if Kawhi's not on the team in the regular season, whether he is or is not, it could still be kind of lingering, and I don't know if you'd really want to have Dwight in that situation on top of, we've had rumors in the past of Aldridge having problems with this Spurs team. This team is definitely not as together as the Tim Duncan era Spurs were, and having a guy like Dwight in there might not be the best thing in the world. So those are just a few teams, a few of the better ones in the league. I mean, I guess there's a chance that he ends up on a bad team that's just looking for a stopgap at center. But again, it is too bad that Dwight Howard hasn't realized what he should be doing, which is setting screens and rolling to the rim and focusing on offensive rebounds and transition and just going all out on defense and not really worrying about how many points he actually scores or how many post-ups he actually gets, because I think he could still be really good, just a hell of a role player. Maybe like a better version of Tristan Thompson a couple of years ago for the Cavs, But he just doesn't want to do that. He's kind of immature. See what happens.